Hello, Internet. My name is Aqua, and welcome to the RWBY Volume 5, Chapter 6 discussion. That's kind of crazy. We're already 6 episodes in. We haven't even seen a friggin' World of Remnant yet. But I'm once again joined by Rebkos.
Heyo!
Who is not in that direction, I've realized, but I'm still going to point there. I think she's like that way or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, I just know it's not there. Anyway, we had an episode of RWBY, because, you know, that's how shows work.
I'm kind of wondering if we're even going to get any World of Remnants, because normally we have it, every about 4 episodes, and often during things like the Extra Life stream.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get that this year. We know we're getting 14 episodes, and the question is, are we just kind of putting more exposition-heavy episodes in instead of World of Remnants?
That's kind of what I was thinking seems to be the case of what's going on, and it needs some work a little bit. That's all I can really say about it. But
I mean, exposition's hard to do well.
It is. And that's why I like that they kept it to the World of Remnants, because it's like, it wasn't stuff that was, I mean, a lot of it is stuff that's like necessary to know now, so I can kind of like understand why they're wanting to just include it, but like, it's a part of the show. Like, you should watch it if you're watching, just like you should watch the opening trailers if you're going to watch it, because that has exposition stuff in it, which we're actually going to reference later in this video because of things. But that's not where we're starting. We're starting with Crow looking for his huntsman buddies.
I love awkward derpy Crow. Like it all feels very out of character from what we've previously seen him do, because he's like the raging alcoholic stumbling around destroying Atlas Tech. Mm-hmm. And in this case, he's just kind of awkwardly going around in bars and getting threatened by barkeeps whom he could easily thrash, but no, he's just uncomfortable and hiding, and it's cute and funny, even if it's a little bit not what we've come to expect from Crow.
Certainly, and it was a fun scene for sure, but I thought it dragged on a little bit too long. Like, I feel like I could have gotten the point across. I just want stuff to move forward, like in the story and everything, so it's like anything that's going to be slowing it down at this point is just going to be like, ugh, for me, because especially
I was okay with the pacing of it, particularly because we do seem to be leading into all of the huntsmen have been murdered. Like, that's seems to very clearly be where it's going. So if it was just like 2 huntsmen that was missing, that would be like, bro, that's not a pattern. But the fact that it's everyone and Crow is getting rather overdramatically upset about everything. Yeah,
I certainly like the implications of what was shown here, and like showing it's like, hey, things are bad out there, like really bad. And I loved being able to see that in like everything. There's also the no fauna sign, which was odd to see in, I guess this is like the dregs of society part of, sorry, I just threw my microphone, but like it's the lower part of the society of not Haven, Mistral. I'm gonna get this straight one day. We spent friggin' 3 years in Vale, and I'm still in that, but anyway. So it's like,
he needs like the superhero power where you pull a map down from the ceiling and point at it.
Or, the phone that puts the map up and just displays it, and then it gets copied because you're dumb.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just, it's cool to see what's going on in more of the world. In this case, like, people are dying and it sucks, and it's everyone that Crow knows, which is a lot of people, which means a lot of people are dying.
And specifically, what we heard previously was that the majority of the huntsmen in the kingdom are effectively controlled by the council and Leo's dictations. And then there's the crowd that's not. And the crowd that's not is who Crow's going after, who all seem to be probably dead. And so I know I said this flippantly in the first episode of, in one of these empty classrooms that we're walking by, Leo probably just has a pile of dead bodies. But Leo probably just has a pile of dead bodies in one of these side rooms, because probably all of the huntsmen that he controls, he's offed. And all of the ones he can't control, he's posted false bounties for, and they've gone off and gotten themselves killed.
See, my takeaway from this was that Leo does have control over a lot of these huntsmen and everything, and like certainly probably has ways of finding out where they all are. He's in leagues with Salem now. Salem has control of the Grimm, so she can be like, okay, this person is going to here to just like, you know, try to control Grimm. We're going to send this like huge horde at these 3 dudes, and so it's like probably
it's
Leo
a search and destroy
himself.
mission. There's a couple Beowulfs there. We just need a huntsman to come out, and they show up, and it's fucking griffins everywhere and a giant fucking Nevermore, and it's just like, now you die.
Yeah,
because you weren't planning on this.
Yeah, and I feel like Leo is like, he has to know that he's sending them to their deaths, because like, I don't know how much he knows about Salem necessarily.
And but we saw this earlier. Leo doesn't care. Leo is completely motivated by self-preservation, and he's willing to throw the world away in order to assure that. So he's not recognizing the fact that Salem considers you disposable too. And so he is completely doing her bidding and is happily destroying the kingdom's defenses.
Oh yeah. Just whittling it down and everything.
Go well.
So we're seeing it's like, hey, yeah, things are really not good out there. And then we have the scene at the end where Crow pays it off. How the fuck does the end work? Because he's just like, oh yeah, I owe 16,000 yen. Here's a card that we've seen 80,000 times. It's like,
yeah, okay, I don't really know how like currency works in society.
I just like, if I could make it to fucking RTX or somewhere that Miles and Carrie were, I'd just be like, what is Lien? Like, it looks like they just have credit cards.
I would like to have an extended discussion with you about the economic policies of Remnant.
I just want to know what their money is. Because
what
it's
is
like,
the legal tender?
Is
this a gold-based system?
In Volume 1, a member of White Fang or somebody walks up to Roman and holds out like 5 cards, and it's like, here's the cards, here's the back of them for whatever reason, and here you go. And it's just like,
yeah,
how do you know how much amount is on there? Like, is it a credit card kind of thing, or are they just
maybe
like charge
it's
cards?
like those smart credit cards that you can like download your credit card into, and so
it's just so weird. That's something that's always baffled me, and I don't think we're ever going to find out. The show's going to go for like 12 years, and we're still not going to go know how the fuck the end works.
I mean, it's one of those things that like
it doesn't matter a whole lot.
It doesn't entirely matter. Like I drew a comic in the school paper in college, and I suck at drawing fingers. Like it's just a fact. Like, and you'll see this in animation a lot of like in The Simpsons, they have 4-finger hands because it's easier to make that look right than trying to do a 5-finger hand.
Right.
And what I did was there were no fingers. Just everyone had these little stumpy hands, and occasionally if someone was holding something, like a thumb would come out, and it would just be these little stumpy hands. Anyway, and it didn't matter. It was completely irrelevant. It was just, this is the choice that I have made.
Yep.
You will have little stumpy arms, and no one ever questioned it. At some point I pointed out, it was like, yeah, the characters have no fingers, and they were like, what do you mean they have no fingers? And it's like, they have no fingers.
It's like the
I don't know what to
they
tell
just
you.
have a little stump. They don't even have fingers at any point.
Exactly. It's just like, burp.
Yeah. So
yes, there is some form of currency in this world. Does it really matter? I mean, unless no. Ruby's like, I've decided to give up the huntsman life, I'm going to get into investment banking. At which point, maybe we'll care about what's going on, or we'll just wonder if Lindsay's leaving Rooster Teeth, and that's why Ruby's getting axed from the show.
I mean, Weiss has to take over a company at some point, probably, so she's got enough money.
Probably not going to get into the deep economic politics. This is like the Star Wars prequels, where we spend a lot of time talking about the Trade Federation issues, and there's a reason no one likes the prequels.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's something that's like I've noticed since Volume 1. I'm just like, I don't understand this, but that's fine.
Money's occurring.
Anyway,
it's fine.
So yeah, we find out that all of Crow's buddies are dying off. That's a neat revelation, and then we get to go see what Raven's up to with the Weiss and Wang.
One thing before we cut away from this. One of the things I thought was actually really interesting in this scene is how seedy all of the areas that Crow is looking in for the huntsman are. I mean, he's looking in this bar with the racist bartender and the no fauna sign. You've got the just kind of seedy back alleys where people are fighting, and you've got this boarded up house where the cute little girl is living with her father. This is not glamorous. This is like you got a little bit of this from Team RWBY early in the series of to be a huntress is so much more glamorous and romantic than being like a cop or whatever. And now you're seeing actual huntsmen's places of business and where they live, and they're in the slums.
I mean, these are the huntsmen that are like not part of the official groups and everything, assumingly.
They are.
They strayed for the path. Some of them are.
In theory? I mean, they're still taking bounty missions. The things that they're going missing on are search and rescue and search and destroy. Like, it's not like they're necessarily hunting people.
Right, but it's a little weird for that because we only see him talk to like 3 people, but he has a list of like a lot of huntsmen.
Yeah.
And the boards are in like a really nice area, so I just kind of took it as like the ones we got shown, the ones that are most likely to die, in fact, are the ones that have like strayed from the path and like aren't official huntsmen and everything, and they're going to be going off on more dangerous missions or like, you know, what have you, like trying to go take after, like kill bandits or whatever.
I mean, it seems they're just trying to make ends meet.
That's the thing. It's like we don't
and
really know.
And since we have no idea what this currency is, then, you know, maybe they're just like...
Yeah,
it's like the loot boxes in Battlefront. You don't know what you're gonna get.
I mean, it seems like the money, if you stay like as a huntsman, an official huntsman, it seems like the money is pretty good because Raven does mention it's like some people did it for the money, and obviously, like if you're living in slums, you're not doing it for the money.
But you could be, so why aren't you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't understand it so far. Like that, I'm sure there's reasons for it, but that's always been a little odd to me. Like there hasn't been really good reasons given for like why people stray from the path, as Crow put it. But we still have a lot of show to cover in the coming years, so maybe we'll find out.
I just thought it was interesting of like we're not in the ritzy part of town looking for the other huntsman.
Not until the Crow's looking at the board, yeah.
Yep.
So Raven and Weiss and Yang are
talking. Down for tea, as served by the Spring Maiden, apparently.
Yeah, that was so weird to me. Like Raven had her like as her like, you know, like first hand person or whatever. I can't think of the
handmaiden.
No, just like right hand, not first hand.
First hand.
Like this right. With these hands. No, like it's like she's like right hand woman, but she's just like also her bitch, apparently. It's like, yeah, just go wait outside while we talk about stuff that like, you know, you're a huge part of and everything. And it's just like, why are you not? Well,
she immediately comes busting in later with a weapon, so she's clearly eavesdropping.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what? I don't understand. But this scene kind of was really disappointing to me. I enjoyed it, but it was very disappointing, partially because I was expecting something going into it, which I was like, if this happens or doesn't happen, whatever, I'm going to be like a little bit disappointed. But the information that was given to Weiss and Yang is kind of pathetic for what Raven could say.
Well, Raven's using it as a bargaining chip. Like, she's teasing them with information and then hoping to get them to stay.
I guess.
And it fails miserably.
Yeah, she's doing such a terrible job at it, though. Like, there's so much more information she could give and, like, so many things she could say, so many things she could show, and just doesn't.
Yeah.
But the first revelation that I had rewatching this, by the way, I won't say I disliked this episode at all. I did end up watching it like 3 or 4 times before I watched it again to take notes. So I did really enjoy the episode. There's a lot of good moments to it. It's just like a lot of story and exposition and Raven not knowing how to bargain at all.
It was better delivered exposition, though.
Yes.
Like in the last episode, we had a lot of these one-on-one interactions of just a character monologuing at another. And at least in these, we had both Weiss and Yang being in the room, adding a more dynamic element. Even if Raven was primarily monologuing, it still made the scene more active, even if we were sitting quietly in a tent.
So the first big revelation that I had was that Crow and Raven went to Beacon to learn how to kill people.
Yes.
It's like, what? Like, that's not something I ever really expected to hear.
Yes, that's a big one, but like the part that I considered a bit more of a shock was when Raven specifically says, Daddy and Uncle left that part out, huh?
Mm-hmm.
which means Ty knows. Like, it's one thing if Crow and Raven have this big secret that they've been keeping from everyone, and Raven's now outing Crow.
Mm-hmm.
But she's pointing out that Ty is entirely aware of this, and that's extra interesting.
I wasn't too surprised by that, considering the fact that they were together long enough for them to like grow like probably like a decade or so together, and also like have kids together with one dude having kids with two of them. Let's just not worry about that. Actually, I have
like
things
the fact that I mean, the fact that Crow is now like sided with was presumably the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of a point of shame for him. Like, he would probably not want to admit that. Raven would probably want to throw him under the bus regularly to try to get him to come back.
Yeah.
But for Ty to be aware of it, and for Ty to be essentially okay with it because he, lets his daughters hang out with this guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once Ozpin kind of like took a clue into their team and everything, between, Crow and Raven being like crazy badasses from the get-go, and then Summer having silver eyes.
Yep.
That team was destined to have a lot of shit go on with them, so...
I mean, it's even alluded to that it's like Team RWBY was kind of set up to be in the same boat as Team Stark of, oh yes, this is a very dynamic team that enjoys getting themselves into trouble, and also has a lot of high power players on it. You've got Blake Belladonna, daughter of the leader of the former leader of the White Fang, and effectively like king of Menagerie.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Weishni, you've got another silver-eyed warrior, and frankly, you've got the daughter of the previous troublemakers.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, they got a pretty strong team going, and also Ruby was groomed since being a child, because it's like Crow was like, I mean, I can't imagine seeing it's like, the entire team is like, oh no, she has silver eyes. Oh no. But again, I have something I'll say for the end, that theory stuff that I've been thinking about on that. But we found out that Stark has had the same kind of time at Beacon that Team RWBY has, where they're getting constant attention, extra training missions, turning on a blind eye to the things that they're doing. And
apparently Ozpin fully trusted them and read them in. So
I mean, again, these guys have been around for a long time. Like,
yeah, we don't entirely
for quite a while.
We don't entirely learn when they got to learn all the details of everything, but presumably teams don't necessarily stay together after graduation, so it was probably sometime during school that Ozpin decides that he's going to reveal everything to this team.
We know they had to be a team together long enough that Yang was born. And
That
RWBY.
can happen whenever.
That's true, I guess.
And RWBY wasn't necessarily born yet.
We don't really know how old any of these characters are, do we? Between Raven, Ty, and all that.
Mm-mm.
So that's hard. But yeah, they got clued in at some point, and I'm sure the same thing would have happened with Team RWBY, but they didn't get the chance because everything got exploded. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So, then she asks about Ozpin's past. How much do you know? Well, nothing. He's a prodigy. And it's like, well, they didn't even say, like, this is where my problem starts with this, because Raven didn't even be like, yeah, he's thousands of years old. It's like, he's just not the man he thought you think he is. It's like, okay, that could mean literally anything. Like, how about...
There's also a chance that she's not actually read in on everything.
She seems to think that she knows more than the rest of Team Stark.
Yeah.
Because she's like, the more I read into this, the more horrifying it was, which... Then she just kind of trailed off, and it's like, oh, like, there's horrifying things, but I'm not going to tell you anything that's horrifying. It's like...
She's not really good at doing anything beyond threatening people.
Yeah, so... that's what bothered me so much, because I thought we were going to get some new information this time, but it's just a shitty rehash of things we already know with like 90% of the details left out. And it's like, you're not going to convince anybody to stay with you, Raven, if you're not telling them anything. It's like, I'm going to tell you the truth. And then she tells you nothing. It's like, oh, Salem exists. You want to stay? And it's like, I don't like, why should I even believe? Like, what the-
yeah. And again, she's, I think she's banking too much on old Yang behavior. And we're dealing with new Yang here, who is hellbent on getting to Ruby. And frankly, had Raven been like, okay, yes, I will help you get to your sister, but then we need to talk. She might have actually gained some ground with Yang, but Yang is complete tunnel vision on this. If anything, Weiss is actually getting more out of this interaction than Yang is.
Well, I mean, Weiss even is like, hey, Yang, are you okay? You can really tell Yang is in like one mindset right now. She's very just driven for that one thing. Yeah. Which is very much like
I
Yang,
did enjoy Weiss's like attempt at socializing in comfort, because it was just like bad. It's like it's okay if you're not okay. It's like, thank you, Weiss. Shut up.
Yeah, a little bit. So one thing that Raven did say is that Ozpin created the schools.
Yep.
Which Ozpin as Warrior King confirmed?
Maybe?
I mean, the Warrior King is the one that set up the schools, and he set up the kingdoms. And I think that in the World of Moon, it said the schools as well, so...
I think so.
I mean, considering it's Ozpin, and considering what we know about him now, it's like, if it wasn't him, who the fuck else would it be? Because Ozpin was around when that shit was happening. Yeah. Ozpin was around 1,000 years before that was happening. So,
well, we also don't know if Ozpin is entirely unique.
That's also true, because Raven also says that she knows people who can come back from the dead.
Yes.
Which is bringing me to just remember all this shit for later when we go to the theories and stuff. All right, and
you just need like a running checklist on the side.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
What else can I invent for you to animate?
Please don't. It's already horrible enough as it is.
You're welcome.
I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. I put a lot of fucking work in.
Breathe. Back on topic.
Holy shit. Yeah. No,
I did.
In case you're curious, on average, it takes about 10 to 15 hours per video for me to make. So you're welcome.
I just sit here for an hour. I don't have to do any work.
Something else is that Raven said, you need to question everything, which is exactly what Cinder said to Emerald, which is just like a thing to say, I know, to people, but I don't think there's any connection. Just interesting. It's like, it's like the first time I heard that, I was like, I've heard that phrase before.
Yeah.
Where is it? Took me 4 watch throughs to figure it out.
They do enjoy putting various parallels in the series, so I'm not
that's the thing. It's like,
surprised that came up again.
In this show, there is a lot of like foreshadowing and like stuff we don't know about and things that don't really seem all that significant that are super significant. Like, you have silver eyes. Like, what the fuck? People forgot about that for like 3 years, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's everything.
Major plot point.
Yes.
I do also want to know what the deal is between Raven and Ty, because like she's got this line in here of, otherwise you'll end up just as blind as Crow and you're fool of a father, which then sets off Yang to blow up the table.
Yeah.
Because what did the table ever do to you? But the absolute dismissiveness she has towards him, like as far as we know, Raven left Ty of her own volition.
Yep.
So, she is the cause of their divorce. She is the one who abandoned Yang. Mm-hmm. But she seems to be actively blaming Ty and condemning Ty, even though apparently, they got on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's so weird. I was curious if it's also fucked up. Everything involving Summer, like, every time I want to mention Summer or anything, I just, like, we just don't know anything. It's just, like, that's what the main thing I was hoping to hear about today. It's like, hey, I'm going to tell you what happened to Summer, and that'll convince you to stay, because Ozpin caused the death of somebody close to you. And it's just I'm
still pretty convinced that Raven caused the death of Summer, so that's not going to win her any points. She's not possible. Good at this, but she's not that dumb.
I mean, Ruby had to be born... assuming that Ruby was born under normal circumstances, again, referencing the theory I got going on later, but assuming Ruby was born under, like, normal human circumstances, like, Raven would have had to leave first? Because otherwise it's like, hey, I banged you, now I'm going to bang you, while you're still here, and you have a daughter of mine.
I mean, you've got 2 years of difference between them.
Yeah.
And so you've got, the initial banging and then 9 months and then Yang shows up.
Yeah.
And it's entirely possible that Yang gets born and Raven just pieces out immediately. And so you have poor Tai with a newborn. He has no idea what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He probably goes to one of the few female friends he has, and that Summer, who we'll just wildly speculate loves babies and is now like wants to hang out with baby Yang. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, like, I'm sure Yang was an adorable little baby. You've got Tai freaking out. Probably Summer comes in almost immediately and starts helping to raise Yang.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, we only need her around for about a year and a half, and then we just go bang again, and now we've got Ruby.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not that extreme of a timeline,
It's not.
and it doesn't necessarily presume that, like, Tai cheated or was disloyal to Raven in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Raven seems to just kind of be a raging bitch, so I'm hesitant to be like, oh, I'm sure Tai brought this on himself. It's like, no, she's...
Yeah, her motivations for anything are still super unclear. It's like, why'd you leave us? And it's like...
I absolutely love the fact we finally got a bit of that Yang explosion like that.
Yep.
That is kind of what we expected from Yang based on the original Yellow trailer of this is what she wants to know. And she screams that bit, why did you leave us? Her eyes are red, and then she just collapses back into the purple eyes, and then it's just like this desperate, like, why?
And then we get no information.
And we get no information!
It's just that's my main problem with this is like we really got like this scene was so built up and we got nothing out of it. Like there's no new information. There's no new character building of any kind. It's literally like Yang had this motivation for going after Ruby. She like broke for a second. Was like, why did you leave us? Raven said nothing about it, and they just kind of moved on. And then they left.
Which again,
nothing happened. No information.
Like
was
on the
told.
one side, it's
Raven
really
didn't even tell them anything. Hardly.
It's really annoying from a viewer point of view, but it does as a character choice for Raven. It is interesting.
Yeah,
just because she is botching this so badly, and had she taken even a slightly different tact here, she probably could have gotten Yang on her side.
I really hope it is just like Raven's character flaws kind of thing coming to light. Yeah. And it's hard to know if that's what it is or not because we don't know anything about Raven. And now would have been a great time to learn about her, but she didn't say anything. So it's just
and while I didn't terribly like the line from Weiss because it was just kind of snooty, she has the bit at the beginning of the scene where she's like, "You're really obnoxious," and it's like, "Thanks,
1,000,000% Weiss."
Yeah,
like, that was 100 billion% like.
But
Weiss
it was also
through.
like, you're not helping. But then, yes, Raven is kind of really obnoxious.
Raven just fucking captured her after getting into a plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, that's my friend's mom that did that to me. It's like, fuck you. Like, Weiss has no fucking time for any of this shit anymore. And Raven's like, okay, that's kind of fair. It's like, all right, just get it out now. Just we got some talking to do about nothing at all.
Yeah.
So then there's she says people who can come back, which is curious. And then it's people, not person. And then she says, you can see what Oz did to Crow and I, my brother and I. However she says it. And it's like, okay. That's just pure magic. That's just Ozpin doing stuff. So Ozpin can give powers to other people.
But the question is, why would Ozpin turn two individuals into weird animorphs able to turn into birds?
Because they were named the animals. It just seemed right. Ozpin's like, we can't have... Okay, you guys, you have to be birds.
I mean,
you guys are named birds, you have to be birds.
Ozpin's not good at this, but that sounds like, Ozpin got drunk with Crow and it was like... Dude,
yeah, that's the thing.
You know what would be awesome? If you and Raven could turn into birds. Oh, it's like, did these guys get high while they're trying to save the world?
I was just
like,
high off a bunch of dust and just like, oh man,
they're hopping dust.
I mean, Oz probably is. So let's be honest. I bet Crow, when Oscar came back and he like brought that drink, he was like, all right, I'm just going to take this little bit of dust here, just grind it up, mix it in here, and here you go. Use your thing. You can drink it. I wouldn't be surprised. Because, I mean, okay, so just an aside real quick about the whole drink thing. We never mentioned it, but I did think it was curious. It's like, as soon as he switched, Crow was like, okay, I'm going to go get this dude his drink. And it's like, does he need that? Or is that like, what's going on with that? Because the drink was like a huge thing like back in the day, because it's like Osmond always had his mug with him. There was one time he didn't, and it was when he was like, Osmond didn't even seem like he was really there.
Yeah.
Which I looked back, went to the scene, looked at a bunch of other scenes for comparison stuff. I fucking don't know. I thought maybe his eyes changed color or something at some point. Couldn't find
almost some of that might just be like screwing with the watchers, just to be like. It's one of those things where it's just like a tiny little thing. If they reveal in like a season or two that yes, Osmond's mug, that's the relic. Like that's it. That's the relic. We have no idea what Osmond's drinking. Doesn't matter. It's out of the relic mug.
Yeah.
Like that, I'd be a little annoyed, but I'd still be entertained.
I just like, think
all
it's
right,
Jesus. I just pulled out like a fucking beard hair that was like 4 inches. Sorry. Yeah, so then found out it's like, oh yeah, I can turn into a bird. She's been watching Yang and everybody the entire time, literally since the very first video of Ruby that was ever put out.
Oh yeah,
the red trailer.
Yep.
And like, we'd always been kind of like, oh yeah, like it's like ever since, oh, that might be like Raven, might be Crow, whatever. And when we saw Crow actually turn into a crow, or from a crow into a person, it's like, oh, like maybe then actually, and then it's like, no, straight up. Like, I mean,
we've got the bird in the red trailer, we've got the bird in the black trailer, and we've got the bird in the yellow trailer. I do not think there is one in the white trailer.
No, because why would there be?
Well, why is there one in the black trailer?
That could just be a random bird. I don't think. Did we see the red eyes on it? I didn't go back and look at that one.
I'd have to check. But at a minimum,
that was in Vale.
There is a very distinct bird in that one.
Maybe it was Crow. And he was like scouting or something. Just seeing what the white thing's going on with or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe?
Because, I mean, bird.
You do have... Oh, so, based on the timeline of things, you have Team Evil visits the White Fang.
Mm-hmm.
Adam tells them to go screw themselves.
Yeah.
The next day, we're doing the train job, which is the black trailer.
Mm-hmm. And the day before that was when the transfer of power happened.
I think practically the same time that the train job is happening is when Team Evil goes and attacks Amber. So like now that's more or less happening simultaneously.
Yeah, it was the train job because Blake was there, and then Blake left, and then Adam's going to Mistral right after that. That's right.
And Adam has the moment in the tent where he's like, our chainsaw dude is like, oh, we will find her.
Yep.
And Adam's like, we don't have time for this. And then Cinder shows up to just fuck up their shit.
Yep.
So, yes, it is possible that maybe Crow was tracking what Team Evil was up to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would not be terribly far-fetched.
God, that's crazy, too. Yeah, because Crow just showed up out of nowhere, too. So that would make total sense, because it's like, okay, so Evil was, like, Cinder and her group was here with the White Fang camp.
Yep.
And then he'd be like, okay, are they all going out to this job together? No, it's just those two. Okay, so where are the others now? And then he, like, goes from the... That's so crazy. You can put together, like, a full timeline then, because it's like, that happens. You can think, oh, Crow's tracking him at that time. The train job happens. Crow's there as well. And then the thing with the maiden happens where Crow shows up right afterward. And it's like, he just came straight from the black trailer through like 3 seasons and showed up. That's pretty cool, actually.
Or we're reading into this way too much. But it's more fun to speculate.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like pretty much that's what happened. Like, that makes a lot of sense, especially as to why Crow would even, like, know that shit was going down with the maiden and everything.
Yep.
Like, nowhere to be at all. So that's really cool. As far as why they can transfer them into birds, not given anything on that, which really sucks. Again, just, like, a lot of, like, stuff presented. and no details were given, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, so now either you can stay here and whatever, or you can go with Crow. And
again, Yang is just completely tunnel vision on getting to Ruby.
Which is exactly what I expected would happen.
And Weiss is having some interesting reactions.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if
no such thing as magic. Oh, there it is.
She says that, but she's also really concerned and confused about what's going on.
Yeah, it's like obviously like something's happening.
Yeah,
like, I don't know what to believe.
I almost wonder if this is a story she's heard before. Like maybe this is like she's familiar with this fairy tale. She's familiar with something, or she may also just be in this state where she doesn't entirely trust the adults. She may not entirely trust Ozpin. I mean, she grew up in Atlas, and yes, while her father is like a raging racist bastard, I mean, Weiss comes into Beacon being a little shit and talking about the Faunus in horrible ways. And so it's entirely possible there are elements of things that she's heard her father or heard Ironwood say that would make her disdainful of Ozpin, and now we're kind of swinging back towards, no, Ozpin is not the hero you think he is. Yes, he was a child prodigy, but because he's actually really sketchy. And so she's hearing things from a different angle that is familiar to her, and now she's probably hesitating.
Well, there's also the fact that, like, again, she is the intellectual of the group. So if anybody was going to actually consider any of this at all to be fact, it would be her, I feel like. Because Yang is just like, she's just talking shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to get to Ruby. I'm going to get to my sister. And then Weiss is like, this is a lot of what you were saying. It's like, maybe we've heard the fairy tale before, or is just like, you know, that stuff doesn't sound completely wrong. Yep. And then after she was shown that magic actually exists in the dumbest way possible, it's like, okay, you can either have your maiden come out, literally control the elements in any way, shape, or form she wants to, or I can turn into a bird. It's like,
I mean, the bird thing's pretty, like...
The bird thing's kind of neat.
You would be concerned if someone turned into a bird.
I would be very concerned. But also be concerned if it's like, hey, you remember that lightning that happened earlier? Yeah, watch this. I can just do that, whatever. Oh, look, this wind. Okay, what fire? Just like all this stuff is just happening. It's like, I can do all this. I'm super powerful. I guess Raven might not want to, like, show off that power. Yeah.
Well, and again,
especially if they're going to go to Ozpin.
That's part of her flawed negotiation here of...
She's adding too many of her cards.
She's banking way too much on whatever desperation Yang has to know why she was abandoned, and it's not enough.
No, it's really not.
It's not enough at all.
No. And something else that's like that bothered me, she's like, Ozpin has a secret that would like destroy everyone's lives, and it's like, he has one secret that will do that?
Yeah, and it's
how about like literally everything about his life?
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of bothered me a little bit. I'm really curious to see their reactions going forward. Be like, oh, here's Oscar/Ozpin, and it's like, hold on now. Like, she wasn't talking shit. And I feel like Yang might start like looking into it more, or Weiss or somebody, and like maybe start to follow the same path Raven had, but that's for the future. Who knows what's gonna happen with that? That's for predictions and stuff.
Hey.
I had a little thing that like when Weiss was like, you're letting us go? And then my brain was like, without explaining anything at all. That's just like what I imagined she was like finishing in her head. It's like, you didn't tell us anything, bitch. God damn it.
Well, and that even makes the you're letting us go even more dramatic, because it's just like, wait, you're not keeping us as a hostage. You've kind of given us weird National Enquirer level details, and now you're just like, decide or be gone. And it's like,
do you want to believe my conspiracy theory? I'm a bird.
We're gonna go. Yeah, it's like that. Like, okay.
And then
bye now.
The last lines we get between Yang and Raven, it's like, I won't be so kind next time. You weren't kind this either time. I know. Then why were you a bitch? If you knew you're being mean, why are you? I don't understand Raven at all.
Like, I do like that Weiss got to ride on the bike properly.
Yes, I did notice that as well. That was nice. But I just like it. Like everything about Raven so far bothers me so much because she's a fucking stupid idiot.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't know how to do things. It's like,
she doesn't know how to interact with people.
No, which, I mean, if you're one to run away all the time, of course you're not going to be able to. I mean, look at Blake when we first met her. But it's just like, this is a person who is like, I have found out the secrets of the world, and I've like looked into all this stuff, and it's horrifying, but I'm not going to tell you anything, and then I'm just going to let you go. And like, I know I'm being a shitty mom, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And we don't know anything about her motivations. And so she just kind of comes across as like this idiot that like just fucks up everything. And it's like,
I mean, it's like, you can do your homework in your head all you want, but if you don't actually present it to us, you're going to get a 0.
Yeah. It's
sorry.
So, I'm really curious to see more about Raven, because I do want to know more about her, because I just don't understand any of her motivations for anything here. It just makes no sense, anything about her character. And this is the first real time we're seeing her. And it's just, nothing makes sense about what she's doing. And it's like, you're just hiding away from the world because you're scared of Salem. And that's like the main thing that you're focusing on. And
I like to think in like the behind the scenes reel, like Yang and Weiss leave, and then Vernal walks over and Raven's just like, that didn't go how I think it would have at all. And Vernal's like, seriously? Really? You thought that would work?
Yeah. It's like, I'm right here.
Really?
Yeah, like, it's so, it is just flabbergasting to me. It's like, this is, it's like we had I totally understand the reason why they took the break in between. I wish it was a Wolder Remnant. Honestly, I would have preferred a Wolder Remnant over the episode we got in between, just because it just didn't click right, I feel like.
Yeah.
And the amount of information and like things that are happening, it used to be such like breakneck speed, and like we have to get every single moment of everything, and now we're just rehashing. It's like this, in like every exposition of episode of this has just been rehashing old information.
Yeah.
And for other characters' sake. And it's like, we don't need to see that necessarily. If you're going to have something happen where it's like, oh, like Raven's going to clue in, Yang and Weiss, and she's going to try to get him on the side, there's a lot you could do with that. But they just said, oh, here's Salem. I can be a bird.
And I mean, we saw this a little bit better in Volume 4 when Crow reads everyone in, and they're sitting around the campfire, and you have kind of this moment of like, I think Jean or someone goes like, let me get this straight. There's 4 maidens and magic is real. And we pretty much in 2 lines, we just covered the last half hour of conversation.
Yep. And they could have totally done something like that, where it's like it's implied that Raven explained certain things like that to them, and then they go from there. But instead, it's just like, you could have
opened the scene with Yang storming out of the tent going, this is nonsense. Like, magic's real, and there's some magic witch Salem controlling the Grimm. Like, what is wrong with you? And it's like, okay, well, now we know exactly what Raven just told them.
Yep.
And instead, we kind of did this, which was...
Well, and also, like, she didn't say anything about the maidens. She just said magic is real. And I can totally understand why she wouldn't want to mention the maidens, because it's like, I'm trying to hide a spring maiden here.
Yes. And again, it's Raven she's got too many cards, and she's playing all of them too close to her chest, and it did not work.
Yep. Which again, like, if that's her character and everything, like, we see more of that, and like, I feel like the more we're gonna see of Raven, the more that scene is gonna make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And just like everything that's happened so far, but we just don't know right now, so she just looks like really bad and dumb.
And again, maybe we'll get Nora later in the volume where they all meet up, and Raven, it's like revealed how little Raven admitted, and Nora goes, really? You thought that was gonna work?
Yeah. Well, and somebody else, I think I was either on Reddit or the Ruby Wiki, but somebody pointed out that it's like Ozpin and Crow and like that entire side has been really open about everything with people. It's like, hey, I fucked up a lot. I'm really old. Like, I've been around for thousands of years, and I have fucked up a lot. And just been like really honest about like what's been happening, and like not trying to spin it away. It's like, oh, we're like the protectors of the world. I mean, they do kind of say that, but
probably.
I mean, they are.
I mean, it could also be that he's just gotten his story down.
Yeah, really that's also very true.
Because he's
very possible. He's had a lot of time to figure it out.
Yeah. So there's still no guarantee that Ozpin's the good guy.
Yeah, certainly not.
But we know Salem's the bad guy. okay. Like and being
For
against
now.
Salem seems to be a good idea.
Presently, with the knowledge we have, yes. I'm still curious if Salem is even the big bad of this.
I'm pretty confident with this grim or bad policy.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't. I don't have much to argue against you with that one. So I wanted to say the last interaction. Also bothered me. I guess I talked about this a little bit already, but like she says, like I know. Then why? I guess I did say this. Then why are you being such a mad mom? Like there's so many questions about Raven, but. So they go through the portal. Crow's like, oh no, it's Raven. Like, what the fuck she want this time? God damn it. Like, all my friends are dead. And I was like, oh.
Hi.
It's my niece and some bitch I don't know. Is that a
knows
girlfriend?
Her. He knows Ice Queen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because, okay,
Shh, not you.
I totally forgot about that. But yeah, so it's like they show up and it's like, oh, okay. That's weird. Sure, why not?
Yep. And then we join Cooking with Team Ranger, this is going to be a chibi episode.
Oh, yeah. And it already hasn't it? Like, they've seen a lot of cooking happening in chibi.
Well, I think it's usually just Ruby failing at cooking.
Yeah, which happened in the show, so it's canon, which is nice.
There you go.
And so then Ruby takes out a tea set that's completely empty. To the other room where she sees Weiss and Yang, drops it, and then we see it's completely empty. And like, Ruby, why are you taking out that tea set?
She doesn't know what she's doing. It's
she
fine.
Doesn't. She really doesn't. She tries though. She really does.
I did really enjoy this bit. I have a couple gripes with it, but in general, I thought it was great.
Ruby showed emotion. It happened. She has feelings.
And even the framing on it, there's this one initial shot, like we see Ruby seeing Weiss and Yang kind of takes a couple steps forward, and then we get this beautiful camera angle where it's Ruby in the frame and effectively Yang's robot arm.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just see Ruby freaking out. Like, she's barely able to look at Yang, and when she does, she's only seeing the robot arm because that's what we're seeing as the audience.
I didn't really think about that.
This may be the first time they've spoken since the end of Volume 3.
Oh, it has to be. There's no way they could have spoken.
No, they probably could have. It could have been like Ruby for a couple days after that final scene would like come into Yang's room and be like,
oh yeah, because there were months in between.
How's it going? Yeah. I brought you lunch or whatever, and Yang has probably just ignored her silently. And like the last sort of interaction, I mean, and like what we saw in Volume 3 was Ruby rushes in and gives Yang a hug. Yang does not reciprocate.
Yep.
We get our little awkward moment of Ruby wanting to know what happened, wanting to believe that everything's okay, Yang snapping at her.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Ruby leaves, she says, I love you, and Yang does nothing.
Yep.
And so then we get this beautiful framing of that moment months later.
Yeah.
Of Yang comes in, she initiates the physical contact, she initiates the hug that she never previously reciprocated, and then she says, I love you. And it's not an overly emotional, it's not over dramatic, it is a statement of fact.
It's new Yang.
Just with a very straight on delivery of, I love you.
Yep.
Like, do not question that ever again. That is what I am here.
I really did like that. Because that's the first thing that I thought of when I saw that. I was like, this is just the other half of the end of Volume 3. And it was like, it was just such a beautiful circle to see come full close, and then they include Weiss and hug. But
yeah,
Ruby's reaction was super interesting to me. Not what I expected at all. Because, I mean, Yang at first doesn't really, like, she doesn't show any sort of emotion of, like, being, like, super happy or anything, whatever, which is, like, that's just how she is now, which is cool to see. It's not like she's
probably also in a little bit of shock seeing her sister because, like, Ruby, at least from a character model point of view, has matured significantly. She is notably older. She's taller. Like,
her cloak is tattered. Her weapon's beat up, which you didn't see her weapon, but it's like,
and
she's
so
obviously
Yang,
been through some stuff.
Yang also recognizes that she's missed out, and it's to some degree her own fault.
And it's been months since they've seen each other. But it's also a fact of like they didn't just like back down on Ying's character right away either, where it's like as soon as she sees Ruby, she like falls apart and like goes back to her old ways or anything. It's like,
nope.
Yang changed.
Instead, Ruby completely falls apart.
Yeah, which was just like...
She did not expect this. She is convinced that her sister possibly hates her.
Yeah. And it's like, and I mean, I never really thought about it from that perspective either, because it's like when Ruby just fucking breaks down crying like immediately, and and she just had all this like guilt just come up, and it's just like, whoa, where was that? What? Like,
I mean,
I was surprised by it because it's like, oh, Ruby has emotions, like what the fuck? But it was a thing of like, oh yeah, like her sister was in a time of need and she left. That's how Ruby thinks of it. And I never really thought about that.
Thinking that Yang didn't want her there.
Yeah.
And was potentially angry at her. And she did the one thing she could think to do, and that was to go after the bad guys who did this and left her sister behind, presuming that her sister genuinely didn't want her there anymore. And now her sister's shown up and it's
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised actually thinking back on it on the previous episode when Ruby and Oscar were talking about all of this trauma stuff. She didn't mention her sister at all, which I feel like was just a thing of like, let's focus on the deaths rather than, you know, the maimings or whatever, or like the more personal stuff. But I feel like Ruby would have mentioned it because that was like a very personal, like right at home kind of thing. Like I watched my friends die and also my sister got completely broken down.
It was, but also that monologue still I was not the biggest fan of, just because it already seemed out of character with how much personal detail was being revealed.
And
it
is a little exposition's hard to do.
Yeah.
What can you say?
And at least the deaths are kind of something that Ruby can't change. They are
it happened and that's done.
They happened, it's done, they're quantifiable.
Yeah.
This is what happened. This is why it happened to these people. Pyrrha fought the good fight and lost. Penny was a sacrifice. Yang got horribly maimed and I kind of abandoned her. That's not part of a good motivational speech.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So at least Ruby kept some of that internal. I wish she'd kept more of it internal, just because I thought that was more interesting as a character. But yes, I love this little bit. And then we get our Team Ruby hug.
Yep.
Or Team
Rui.
Right. No B hug. There we go. It's Team Rui hug.
Oh my god. So and we also see Oscar come out, and his reaction is really funny to me because he just doesn't know what the fuck's happening. He's just like, oh, they're hugging. There's new people here. Cool. That's good. I guess. Sure.
I like to think Ozpin just chimed in and was like, shut up.
Probably.
Just do nothing. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like Oscar was about to be like, what's going on? And Oscar was just like, don't you fuck with that.
New people. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Oscar has literally a voice in his head that can give him any information about literally anything in the entire world at any point in time. So if Oscar is ever confused about literally anything ever, he has an answer.
He has built-in Wikipedia.
He really does. And it's just like, how much is that used? Like, how much does Ozpin actually communicate with Oscar? It doesn't seem like enough because Oscar's like freaking out all the time.
Like, is Ozpin like in Oscar's head just like playing Sudoku? Or like, what is he doing?
Yeah. I'm sure he's plotting or some shit. Who knows?
Because he's secretly evil.
Probably. Everyone's evil. And it was nice to see like Weiss is like, you know, he's like, oh, their family's back together. Now I'm here. I don't have my family. My family hates me and shit. And just like, no, come in. You're our family too. I'm like, oh boy. That was adorable.
Hugging.
It was a great hug. And I can totally understand why they wanted an episode between this one and the other one, because if they had two emotional hugs back together, A, it would lose its impact, or B, it would just destroy everybody.
There's so much love in the room.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's just not what the show is right now. It's like, there's a lot of like, they're finally getting back together. Yay. Also, everything is trying to kill you. Oh.
We are probably not going to see Blake folded into the rest of the group probably until the end of the volume.
I'm gonna say it's gonna happen chapter 9. That's my guess right now. Out of 14 or 10. because it's 14, not 13. Chapter 10, remember it. Anyway.
Okay.
So a little bit of a closing thought that I put at the end of my notes for some reason, but when it was kind of something that popped in my head when Raven was talking.
Wait. Let me get this straight. Your closing thought is at the end of your notes, and you're surprised by this?
I'm surprised because it's not really a closing thought. It's something that I thought about halfway through and then forgot to write down.
Oh, okay.
And then I forgot to read it until now.
Okay, got it.
So it's not really a closing thought so much as I forgot. But
okay,
thanks for pointing that out for me.
You're welcome. It's like...
So everyone in Stark knows about Oz Illuminati and all that bullshit. Which means Ty is just doing nothing. Ty is running away as much as Raven is. Which I'm curious if like Raven like tried to bring Ty into the fold and be like, hey, we can at least like be strong in this group or whatever, and then like if anything bad happens, we can all take care of each other in this strong group. And Ty's just like, no, I want to take care of my family. And she's like, fuck you, this is our family. And he's like, no. But it's like Ty and Raven are both running away equally. Like it doesn't matter. Like Raven can build up as much forces as she wants. She can have a maiden on her side. It's not going to stop Salem. Like she's just not even delaying the inevitable. She's just accepting it, I guess, but not really. It's again the whole like thing. But Ty was really interesting to me because it's like, oh, Ty knows about all this shit, but he's just chilling on an island by himself now.
Ty still has some trauma to deal with that we.
Oh yeah,
still haven't gone to address.
Yeah,
like we know.
Yang did say that he shut down super hard.
Yeah, like Summer's death was really hard on him, and we don't know the details of that. So it could just be he was really in love with Summer. Summer died. That was the end of it.
Yep.
But if it's something more insidious, and particularly if he does know details of it,
like someone he knows could have possibly caused her death or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's something along the lines of, I know there's plenty of speculation that Raven and Crow and Summer were off together, and perhaps Crow's semblance caused Summer to get killed, even though I really don't entirely believe that his semblance is bad luck, but that's neither here nor there. Ty could see this as a situation where by putting himself in these situations, he's pretty much guaranteeing the death of his children's parent. So kind of in the sense that he's running away from saving the world, but he has other fish to fry, which are not entirely selfish motivations. No. I mean, he's a teacher at Beacon. He's helping the good,
Signal.
Or not at Beacon, at Signal. He's helping the good fight, even if he's not directly in the middle of it.
He definitely seems to be like wanting to be more of a support kind of person, like helping out the children, because like he has 2 kids, so I feel like that does make sense that he would be wanting to like be a teacher and make sure his daughters are okay and everything. But it's just curious that like he chose that path because he had to choose that path. So that's just saying something about him, like just showing more of his character just through implications and everything. But
we also don't necessarily know literature-wise who he's supposed to be based off of. I know early in the series, it was like, well, he's probably the Cowardly Lion. And it's like, well, no, Leo is...
Leo Lionheart.
Overtly the Cowardly Lion. So...
Lion is the Cowardly Lion. So yeah. But it's weird because like Crow would still be the Scarecrow, assumedly. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not,
because we don't know who the leaders of the other academies are necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, we have the Tin Man, Cowardly Lion as the 2 of them, and then we'd have, I just said it, Scarecrow as the 3rd one, as the 3rd headmaster. So that's still possible.
Probably Dorothy.
Never heard it. And then Dorothy. Well, people were like, oh, like Ruby's the Dorothy, or Summer's Dorothy, or Spy is the Dorothy. Like yeah. Literally anybody could be at this point, but so that's the end of the episode. So now we can go
with hugging,
and it's great. And now we can move on to predictions and theories, and I will talk about my theory now of Ruby and Summer. Raven mentioned that she has seen people that can come back to life. And I'm curious if the silver-eyed warriors aren't necessarily a genetic trait or anything, but it's a singular person who reincarnates similar to Ozpin. Maybe Ozpin gave them that power at some point, or one of the gods did. But unlike Ozpin, they don't get reincarnated into a new body, like a new person, and they retain all their memories and all their muscle memory and everything. They just get reincarnated. So Summer dies and essentially turns into Ruby. The reason I think this, the evidence supporting this, Ruby and Summer look pretty much the exact goddamn the same. And they seem to be fairly same in like a lot of ways, just like from the very little I've heard about Summer so far, but she seemed like a Ruby kind of person where it's like people like had a lot of hope whenever they were around her, and she had silver eyes, of course, and blah blah blah
but
blah.
Yang seems to have memories of both Summer and Ruby existing simultaneously.
Simultaneously? Oh yeah, I thought about that. Well, there goes that theory. I tried. It's hard for me to figure out anything about Summer at this point because there's so little information about her, and that's why I thought finally we'd be seeing some information about like, oh, here's someone who was on a team with her. We're going to hear about her, but I guess in this sense, this context doesn't make a whole lot of sense necessarily, too.
And also, Raven is again banking on Yang wanting to be with her. Why bring up the stepmom?
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly if Raven killed the stepmom.
Yeah. So I essentially I just want to know about more about Summer. I really thought we'd be getting like a flashback or something to like a Steam Stark adventure, and we just never got that. Yeah. So I was mostly disappointed because we didn't get to hear more about Summer because we don't know fucking anything about her, and she seems so important to things that have gone on in the past. And maybe we get to see somebody actually use silver eyes and see what those can do, because I want to know that too, because I mean we have so much stuff going on and like nothing's really happening because we're just rehashing story for characters that don't know, which is hard to do, and we're just not really getting any progression of any characters lately. Like
in the last episode, yes, we were rehashing known information, but it was known information from World of Remnants, and so or non-series information of Blake's trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, you could kind of justify it from a writing point of view, just for the continuity of the movie. This was a little less justified.
That's a bit frustrating too, because it's like in the past, I don't know if they're trying to like change the style of the show, like as far as how it's written or something, to exclude World of Remnants and just include everything in the show, which I don't think they should do. But because
given the length of the episodes, they do seem to be trying to go for more of a traditional TV series setup. So, and World of Remnants don't really fit in that.
No, they don't. But they also, like, in the past, they would mention stuff that was in only World of Remnants just fine. They mentioned stuff that was only in the trailers just fine without anything. It's like, you didn't necessarily need the context to figure out something bad was going on, but with the context, it was just that much more meaningful. And that was so cool about it. And now it's just like, we're just going to try to shoehorn all the information into the show, and it's just not quite working. And if this is the first season of doing this, of course, it's not going to go well because they don't know.
Yeah.
It's similar to the Volume 4 thing. They've never done 4 separate storylines before, which is insane for anybody to do.
Yeah, I mean, you have to expect some degree of growing pains as they do these things. And like last season's major growing pain was things like learning how to use Maya, and we've now kind of mastered that. So now we're trying something else, and it is a different way of approaching the narrative, and it's working well at sometimes and less well in others. It worked less well here, but again, that may also be character traits.
When they run the show as they have for Volume 1 through 3, something like Episode 4, where there's like a certain style of progression of events. There's a certain amount of information presented. There's like, these things have these certain meanings, blah, blah, blah. There's like, that's the thing that I loved about the show coming into it, is because every single every single scene was just jam-packed with information. It was jam-packed with just little details and everything. And like detail work is still there, but it's kind of shifted from story details to like animation details and making the show look better.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that's making the show suffer necessarily, but they are trying to change up exactly how the show is run, as far as how it's written, how it flows, the pacing of it and everything. And I feel like it's just not quite working out. But it's still plenty enjoyable, and we're still getting a lot of good stuff.
It may just be growing.
It's not a bad episode. Yeah, exactly. This is the second season into, the rest of the story arc. Because the first 3 seasons were just like, it's this contained story. And now we have this contained story that is much more expansive. There's a lot less information to be given out as well, because we already know how semblance works, we know how aura works, we know this, that, the other thing. And so the information they can give out is less, but
there's also probably some factor in here of Monty's involvement. So like Monty, while he passed away before they really started production on Volume 3, he'd already started animating fight scenes. They'd probably already started writing scripts. Like Volume 3 was a bit fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Volume 4 is truly when Carrie and Miles and Gray were more or less on their own.
Yep.
And so you've got major changes both in the plot of the show, how everything is set up with the girls being separated, they were completely changing direction of the show in every way, shape, or form. And like that was planned,
mm-hmm.
But then you also had the growing pains of learning how to use Maya. Like there was a lot that changed very abruptly.
Yeah. And
so like I'm happy to give them a little bit of rope. I'm hoping they're not going to hang themselves with it, but
yeah,
exposition's hard, and
it is.
Well,
and I feel like Monty knew, like, of course, Monty knew exactly the way he wanted to tell the story, and like how, like, he knew these characters so well, because it wasn't just the main 4 that he created. He created this entire world and all the main creators or the characters in it. Now, you can write those characters down, but as far as like how the creator of these characters, who knows them as, his own kids, essentially.
Yeah. And
you're just missing that now.
We don't know what Monty put down.
Exactly. And I always try
There's no reason to believe that Monty was not flawed in some of these things. It's entirely possible there's notes from Monty which are along the lines of, Raven's really awkward and not good at sharing information, and it's just going to piss off Yang. And it's like,
I was thinking,
well, okay, yes, but
I was thinking
that didn't
about
really
this,
play well.
Yeah, I was thinking about this a little bit the other day, and I really tried to not like go back and it's like, well, if Monty was around, how would this look, or how would, this scene go or anything, because like it's just depressing for one thing, but it's also, there's no point in doing that. But it is a thing of like,
and you would never know whether or not you're right. Like we could speculate all day long.
Well, it's not so much as like I think it would be this. It's just I'm curious. I'm really curious to see like what the show would have been if he had been around. But like he's not. So this is what we have, and like it's still his story, and that's something that I always try to remember. Is like this, no matter like what happens. As far as like, oh, the animation quality of this wasn't quite good enough, or this fight didn't like quite come through well, or like this dialogue didn't seem quite right. This character, like you can say, do everything and just be like, oh, it's because Monty wasn't here. It's like
you can nitpick at this show all day long.
It's pointless to do that, and of course, Monty wasn't perfect. So like, it's just the fact that
we got that.
I knew the characters and stuff, but
running on the roof scene. In Volume 2.
Yeah.
And, Monty was around for that, so clearly the man was flawed.
Well, he's not the one that animated that. They just ran out of fucking time, I'm sure. But it's just a thing of like, it does suck that the original creator isn't around, so we don't get the exact show that we would have gotten. But who's to say that if he'd stayed around, he wouldn't have like tried to like, let's not change over to Maya, or let's take this in a different direction, or like what small changes he made.
And honestly, it sounded like he was very collaborative with the rest of the team.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
but
it's not like it was like my way or the highway.
Yeah, but I don't know. I try not to think about like what that would be, and I just try to think of like this is still the story that he's telling. Like he left behind the story at the very least,
and it sounded like he left behind a pretty extensive show Bible.
So like. That's just, I don't know how I got on this tangent anymore, but like I just try to remember that Like, this is still Monty's story, and
yeah,
no matter like if the character interactions don't seem quite as they should, there's still like the overarching story is still incredible, and the writers and the animators and the entire team are making the show ever more incredible. So I don't want to like the last couple. I just feel weird because like the last couple episodes or the videos that we've done to this, I feel like I've been bagging on it a lot, and it's just because I want it to be good. Like I mean,
there's only so much that we can just gush about them. I mean, I can go back to gushing about Barbara's voice acting because again, she nailed it.
But that's the thing. It's like I wanted to do this show because I love this show. I wouldn't be. Or I want to do this video series, and like I don't want it to come across like I don't enjoy what's going on with the show right now because I absolutely love it. I'm really nitpicky, and the thing is, like, this show has trained me to look for tiny details in everything because that's how it started. And I feel like it's getting a little bit away from that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it's different and it's changing. Yeah. But it's just something that now I always look into, like, the tiniest little details of everything. And so if I seem nitpicky,
into everything.
Yes, exactly. Because it used to be that way. Like, you know, you'd read in, it's like, oh, you're reading into that too much. It's like, oh no, that was actually a thing. It's like, what? Like, what the fuck? Because, I mean, even in the beginning, the music was, it still should be. This is one of my biggest complaints about the show right now, but it's that the music doesn't tie in with the show as much as it used to, because Monty used to work so closely with Jeff Williams, especially for all the fight scenes and music for it. And there were certain songs for certain characters, certain songs that were like describing certain moments. And now even Jeff Williams said it's like, that's not a thing anymore. Like, it's just music sometimes. And that kind of made me sad. But again, like, the show's moving forward, it's getting bigger, and it's like, there's still a lot of really cool shit happening all the time. So good work, everybody. Don't think I hate the show, because I fucking love it still. My earphone fell out. That's how much I love it. Anyway, do you have any
scale of 1 to 2 earbuds? I don't know.
As for our predictions, I don't know at this point. It's really up in the air. I'm really curious to see what Weiss and Yang's reactions are going to be when they start talking to Oscar/Ozpin, because that's gonna freak him out more than anything.
Yeah.
And then with Blake coming in, she's still got a ways on her storyline, I feel like, before they make it to Mistral. Like 2 to 3 more episodes involving her, kind of thing. And then of course
I still think that might be, we might be heading towards like a big showdown with the White Fang, and so we may not. I'm still kind of expecting that we're not going to see the full Team RWBY reunion until much later in the season. I know you're saying episode like 9 or 10, but I'm saying maybe episode like 12 or 13.
Yeah, it's possible. Fuck if I know. There's just a lot of setup going on right now.
There is.
And that's fine.
And we have a lot of dominoes that can fall right now. I mean, we haven't even seen what Cinder and her team are up to. We still have the outstanding question of, did Raven actually try to ransom Weiss? Because now we've got Atlas and the Shnees in play. Is Leo killing Huntsman and piling up dead bodies in the classrooms? Because I'm kind of thinking yes.
Make sure to tune in to find out. Find out next week on RWBY. Sorry.
What?
Dragon Ball Z. It's like every episode of Dragon Ball Z ends with like this thing. It's like, will this happen? Will this happen? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Same kind of thing.
Okay.
It's an anime thing. Just work with the. Don't kill my fucking bit.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You know improv. Come on.
Anyway. Yes, and
God damn it. So, do you have any predictions or theories you would like to share with us before we close out this?
I don't know that I've anything terribly new. It's mostly just the kind of wanting to see where we're going and expecting Blake to get in a lot of trouble. Probably next episode. Like that's probably what we're gonna see next week.
Boy, if something could happen with Blake, that would be so great.
I mean, that is, we've been having a lot of build up there. That is probably shit about to hit the fan in a very explosive manner. So
I don't think it's going to be as grandiose as we're hoping until the like fall of Haven attempts to happen. But as far as like the buildup that's been happening, I don't think it's gonna like, because I mean, this is
Adam's a crazy fucker, and he's got a lot of zealots on his side.
Yeah, but
so...
he's sending people to go kill the Belladonnas. That's pretty fucked up.
And grab Blake.
But we've also been building up to this for a volume and a half now. So it better be fucking good, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm going for. Because I mean, the last volume 4 was just like all set up. It was just 100% set up. Which is fine, because they're like, everyone's going on a journey, everyone's trying to heal from this trauma. Like, some shit went down, so of course they need time, and I'm glad that they didn't try to rush through the character's development, but I also want to see some fucking payoffs, which we're starting to. We got the Raven and Yang interaction, and we're starting to get Team RWBY back together, so it's good to see that stuff, but we still got a ways to go, so I'm excited.
We absolutely do.
There's a lot that can happen, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be as fucked up as I'm hoping, if not more.
I can.
That'll be it for the video. I guess that'll be the end of the video there. So, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. As always, please leave comments down below, and we'll try to interact with you there. If you have any comments about theories you have, if we missed something, if we said something you never thought about before, just anything at all, just please let us know. And if you also enjoyed it and you think other people would enjoy it, please spread the word, because we want to get as many people talking about this show as possible. Because the more people get talking about it, the more stuff you might get right, no matter how crazy it is.
Yes.
So thank you.
Monkeys writing Shakespeare.
Yes.
Ready to go.
Exactly. I've seen some pretty fucking weird theories, but you have to get through those theories to get to the good ones.
I was really expecting you to say I've seen some pretty fucking weird monkeys, and it was like,
there are some weird monkeys, but we'll leave that for another time. Thank you for joining me, Rebkos.
Of course.
And we will see you after the next episode comes out, or whenever I get this video up. I'm way behind on editing, so just bear with me for a little bit. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye-bye!
Bye!